Welcome back to the show, guys. Welcome back to the Iron House podcast. This is Daryl.
This is Roy.
And Leontine.
And today we're going to talk about a pretty interesting topic of when is too much too much? When is it shut the fuck up and go? And when is it, train smarter, not harder? And the reason we're talking about this because this past Tuesday, it was the infamous heatwave day here in Holland. And it was a warm-ass day.
It was.
I think it got up to like 38 degrees.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And you notice that the gym was quite quiet on that day because as, common sense would motivate, most people decided to just, call it a day and not come work out. We also canceled one of the power hour classes because, doing a bunch of burpees and assault bike in that heat is also not a very good idea. But there were still a few people who came in and got a good workout in. So I think it's an interesting thing to see the paradigm between the people who choose to go on those days and people who, I think the more common approach of, hey, this is not normal. Let me avoid this. Let me go look for safer pastures. So, Leontine, you're also a little bit of the famous one in the gym known for bringing your own personal fan
Yeah,
when
that's
it's really
true.
warm to train.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I really, really do not like the heat. So I think when it's above 26 degrees...
Really? 26 already?
Yeah, already,
Damn.
yeah. I prefer to bring my own fan so I can have at least some moving air around me, to cool down.
So the fan wouldn't have helped you this Tuesday.
I'm afraid not. No. No, it was too hot. Yeah.
So,
for me, it was too hot.
So you were definitely in the camp of too hot to train. I'm going to stay home.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Last Tuesday was, yes.
Okay. Roy, you and I were here training.
Yeah, we were here.
And we were... you were doing fucking Bulgarian split squats for like 80 kilos for high reps and shit.
Yeah.
And I was deadlifting, supersetting with sled drag. So we might have let it got to our heads a little bit. Like for me, I personally love the whole... Like, if it's worse conditions, that's when I would rather do it. This is how my brain works. If it's the worst possible time to do it, it's more hard. That's when I want to show up and get it done.
I'm usually not that way, but when I hear like a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not going to train," then it motivates me more to just say, "Okay, fuck all this. I'm going to train anyway."
So why is that? Like, what's the motivation behind that though? Is because then you're like, I can do something that most people choose not to, or is it just testing yourself?
Yeah, I think that's mostly it. Just doing something that most people don't want to do. I don't know. I think it's the whole mentality, which you usually don't really like. It's the whole outwork mentality. Like I don't really like it, but sometimes
what
you still
mentality?
Like the whole outwork mentality, which usually
yeah.
doesn't really work. But situations like this, I'm like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, because it all comes down to what type of motivation does it end up being for you, right? Because then if it's a motivation of self-preservation, you're thinking, I'm not going to get a good workout in. This is dangerous. Leontine doesn't like the heat. Most people can't stand the heat. It's not normal heat by any means in Holland. So it's self-preservation. Like you're motivated to be like, I should train today because it's Tuesday. It's my training day, my day 2, for example. But I have to be, responsible and train smarter and put aside and then make it up for the rest of the week. And some people have that, I don't even have to train today, but because it's so hot, I'm going to get in, sweat my ass off, see what it does to me.
I'm also pretty stubborn with my training, so it's like I will train, like regardless. Even if the fucking world falls apart, I'll still train.
Yeah, so I'm your apocalypse. Roy's like just looking for the barbells.
Still doing the squats, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more relaxed. I feel like if I miss one training on a day I was supposed to train, I can do it on another day. Or I will just skip it and I don't think it will have a lot of impact.
Because that's universally true, though, because no one would have a major impact if they miss one training or if they move it up one day. So what you're saying is a lot more true universally than what Roy is saying.
Yes.
But like Roy's conviction of what he's saying is higher.
I do understand it, though. I do understand pushing yourself and seeing what you can do. I would just think that if it would have been a regular training day for me, then which it was, then I wouldn't do it. If it's super hot and I would just go and see whatever I can do just to challenge myself, yes, I can understand that. Because then you can just adapt to whatever you feel like you can do in that moment,
Exactly.
which might be more than you expected in the first place. So it can also be interesting to push yourself like that.
And I think that's an important point that I have to say is I won't stubbornly try and do the things that I do under normal circumstances. Okay,
Right.
I'll go in and just do my best. I'll just put my best foot forward, which usually ends up being not that much worse than it would have been under normal circumstances. And that's the interesting part to me, is that in your head, it's usually a lot bigger than it is in reality. You're like, oh, I can't perform as well in the heat, but then you try it and you're like, doesn't matter that much. It's like super small.
Yeah,
But I'm still open to adjusting if necessary.
Yeah,
and
that's smart.
luckily for me, like my workout wasn't really that hard anyway, because this is only my first week back after being sick. So
Those split squats looked heavy to me. Yeah, like, but I hate we're gonna split squats the way you do them. Like if it's dumbbells, they're unilaterally loaded, I'm fine. But the way you do it, like fuck that shit. That's just exhausting.
at some point, dumbbells are just annoying.
I still rather do dumbbells than do it a barbell. But what you're saying brings up an interesting point. It always ends up being either less bad than you thought, or the idea of you can do more than you think you can. I think that's what prompted us to want to talk about this in the podcast, is because you have people who fall in two completely different camps. People who seek opportunity to find out what they can do, and the people who make really deep fundamental assumptions of what they can and can't. And it's funny because when you're a powerlifter, for example, you have to assume that you can do more than you can. If you think that this is fixed, this is all I'm able to do, then what the fuck is the point? You're never going to make progress. But you have to assume, if I put in the time, if I go through these heavy ass workouts, if I do these split squats, if I do my work, I'll eventually get heavier, get stronger. But then with this whole heatwave thing, even before Tuesday, you also mentioned some gyms were closing earlier. You saw posts on Instagram, people saying, hey, be responsible, don't go work out. Or some people were saying, hey, just man the fuck up and go work out. And then people get offended by that. So it's a completely different way of thinking. For me, for example, like I hang out with Sieger, and our whole thing is like, oh, these are going to be horrible conditions. Let's go do it now. So we wanted to learn to swim, but we're like, okay, let's go swim in the cold. Or there was a day when it was stormy. You remember the time it was like a storm coming over? And even in the plus, it was pretty bad. And everyone was like, warning, stay inside, go to the road and all that shit. We were like, today's the day we got to go swim. Because if we can do it then, if we can get over our shit then when it's easy, you can coast through it. It's kind of like a dumb way of looking at super compensation. But for me, it totally makes sense in my head. And when you have two camps, the one can easily offend the other. Because people have a tendency to reflect what other people do onto themselves. So Roy posted on Instagram, like, hey, cure for the heat, just man up and go work out. And then we were talking about it, how that doesn't work for everyone. Mm-hmm. Because some people might be more sensitive to the situation than you are. And people kind of get offended or get carried away in that one comment when there's an opportunity for you to challenge yourself that fits for you, take it. And some people just end up being, if it's not perfect conditions for me to succeed, I'm just not going to try.
Yeah, I think what's important here is that as a coach, as a trainer, we have a responsibility to inform people about training, about what are good conditions to train, what's safe, what you need to think about as a gym even as well. I don't think closing necessarily is a good thing to do, because people can still think for themselves and decide, hey, I want to go train or not. So if there should be an opportunity.
Yeah, no one's putting a gun to your head and forcing you to come.
Exactly. So you can just make up your mind and do it if you want to. But I do feel that as people look at us as trainers or coaches as an authority on training, on also training circumstances. So I feel like we should inform them on all sides. So we should say, hey, you can go train, but drink a lot of water, take a lot of rest, whatever, do whatever feels good. Or, you can come and, kill yourself.
Yeah,
I don't think we should say that.
Yeah, what you're saying is also, as a coach, you're responsible to protect your athletes and your clients also from...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or at least inform them.
Yeah, because that's the thing I struggle with a little bit is... as a coach, it's more of, do as I say, not as I do. Because what I do is not what I would recommend for most people. Because I do it for more emotional, psychological reasons than for physical reasons. But as a coach, you want to protect your clients, but you also want to elevate them into a higher level of performance. And we talked about in the podcast with Patrick that a lot of it is mindset. And when a person just defaults so fast to, oh no, absolutely not, then to me it's like, well, how come it's absolutely not? How come it's not, I have important workouts, I don't want to botch them, I want to make sure I hit my RPEs and everything, that's where I'm not going to go. But so many people are like so firm in the sense of, oh, no way in hell. Like, but the way to reward is sometimes through hell.
Yeah, and there's always a way to do something, but maybe adapt it a little bit to, well, at least finish something and then feel accomplished about it.
Yeah, but I think people are too, instead of trying to adjust, people are too quick in just throwing everything off the table. And I see this a lot, not only with the heat, but when people, they slept bad, their diet was bad, they went to a festival, for instance, and they come to me and like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a bad workout. Yeah, like, and I'm, I have to like prevent myself from saying like, so what? Like, if you have a bad workout, you still did a workout.
It was better than no workout.
Yeah, you still put in effort, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. You still take something home with you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this conversation is not to like pass judgment or to say that one thing is right. I think it's really interesting to have like everyone doing the same thing, but that you could be so split on something. Because powerlifting or strength training, everyone who's not being paid for this, anyone not a professional, you're doing it because you want to do it. So no one's forcing you to come here. No one's forcing you to work out. You can choose any other hobby. You're not going to pay your bills off of this sport. It should be something that you want to do. But if at the first drop of a hat, you find a way to not go do it, it to me is like really, really interesting how that paradigm has to work.
Yeah, I do feel there's a difference between having slept bad or having not eaten enough or having a headache or having gone to a festival, as opposed to it being 38 degrees outside, because that can be physically dangerous, actually. Yeah. So I mean, true. It's hotter outside than our body is supposed to be. The temperature of our body is supposed to be. So you're training, you're overheating, and you really have to take care and really know your body to know what you actually can do. So I think that's not the day that people who are not used to training a lot are supposed to push themselves. Yeah, true.
I get it. And that to me makes complete sense. And I agree too, because we were talking also about the fact that there was a HIT plan or this HIT warning nationwide. And, I'm from the island. So like the heat for me is not that bad. I enjoyed that day. Shouldn't happen every fucking day. Shouldn't be the whole week. It was pretty hot.
Please no.
I moved here so I wouldn't have to sweat my balls off every single time. But once in a while I enjoy
Global warming says hello.
Right? But then to me, it was my knee-jerk reaction is, come on, people, it's not that bad. But it was about, the elderly, people who have poor health, people who already suffer from, bad blood pressure or whatever.
Yeah, because people like actually die during heat waves.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Yeah. So when you say that you like to push yourself or do certain trainings in like weird, extreme circumstances, people who train here still look at you as an example.
Yeah, and that's a bad example.
And that's a bad example.
That's a really bad example.
And to us as well. They look to us as well as examples.
But then again, I think there are enough people who might use fitness for the same reason that I do. Because like you guys train for completely different reasons than I do. You guys train because you're more athletically inclined as an athlete. There's a mindset, there's a motivation to be like, this is where I am, this is where I want to go. There's a clear need for a goal, even though the goal itself isn't clear. Because powerlifting is an abstract, goal-oriented. Like, you want to get stronger, but how much stronger? Do you want to have this many wilks? Do you want to lift that much? Because, you could say I want a 300 deadlift, but sure, but you also want a 302.5 deadlift.
Yeah, you want to, at least for me, it's competing. I want to compete.
Exactly. So that's all the inclination you need. Mm-hmm. So, well, for me, I think there's a lot of people who might share this sentiment that I train and I put myself through shitty workouts and tough shit because I feel that it's a natural balance for my personal shortcomings. So it's really weird. You have to kind of like buy into this nonsense that I'm saying right now. But the idea is that I believe we all have like weakness inside us. Like I call mine my little, a little bitch. There's a little bitch inside me that wants me to like slow down. Like it's too hard. Doesn't like friction. Doesn't like drama. Doesn't like stress. That is insecure. Is afraid of shit. It's inside me. So when I work out or when I go swim with Seeker in the cold and shit, I'm basically trying to minimize. I'm trying to smother that little bitch so that what's left is more of who I want to be and less of who I'm trying not to be. And I try to kill the bitch in my workouts. When I do hundreds of burpees, and my body is not made for burpees. I have no business doing fucking burpees, and I'm not good at them. But I force myself to do them, and I'll get through it. Might take me fucking long. Might feel like shit afterwards. But by doing the heavy workouts, I'm trying to kill the insignificant Daryl, the weak Daryl inside me, and I always feel good afterwards. It's a mental thing. I'll have a lot better work week if the week before I pushed myself and I really, really got to that limit. And I'm a firm believer of most people can do way more than they're capable of and definitely more than they're aware of. But you're never going to find out if you don't find a means to push that boundary. And what you're saying makes sense. 38 degrees is not the right day to find that out. But there's people who also back out at the first sign of challenge.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there somewhere there's got to be a middle point. And because there's a line. Some people are too far one way, and some people are too far the other way.
Yeah.
So like maybe we're too far one way, as we're just stupid and stubborn.
Yeah, it's too extreme.
But the point of the conversation is that some people are too far the other way, and they back out too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's got to be like somewhere where you meet in the middle.
Yeah, there are people who are kind of too nice to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think a lot of times that being too nice to yourself can correlate with maybe how unfulfilled you are or how unhappy you are, because it's short-term problem solutions versus long-term desires and needs. Like I do my workout so that when I get hit to 40, I know I paid my dues, I've done what I need to do, and I know I can assess myself fairly. But a lot of people these days are, I just don't want to be uncomfortable right now, regardless of what it means in the future. So it's about solving the short-term discomfort, regardless of what it will mean in the future. And again, now we're not talking about, whether you're man enough or tough enough to come train in the heat. Because again, for most people, it's a bad idea. As a coach, we will all say, 38 degrees, don't go do heavy squat clusters, stay the fuck home, rest. Everyone needs rest anyway. But in the broader scheme of things, I think a lot of people can find that if you're always nice to yourself, if you always back out at the first sign of friction or resistance, you might see a correlation with, how happy are you? How much do you achieve? How much do you get done? How satisfied are you with what you are? Because there might be a reason that you are unsatisfied. If every time things get hard, you pull back. And in the world of instant gratification where everything has to be right now, everything has to be exactly how you want, no one wants to, feel any kind of friction, I think that correlation might be a lot bigger than people assume. So when you're talking about fitness, you're talking about coming into the gym and training powerlifting, already something that is inherently built on obstacles and challenges, overcoming things, especially when no one's forcing you to do it. Again, sure, you could say everyone should be healthy and have a healthy body, but there's many ways to do that. You can also go running, you also go bouldering, whatever. But if you're already choosing to sign up for something that's going to voluntarily, for something that's going to ask you to push yourself continuously more and more, then I just think it's really interesting to why that works there, but it doesn't work somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a really interesting thought. And I definitely think that most people don't share my sentiment about it, but I think there are a lot of people who might think, I don't really work out because I need to get fitter or healthier or whatever. It'll be a nice byproduct, but most people come for emotional reason.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah, they come work out because for some people, it's a form of escapism. Having a tough time at work, a tough time at whatever, school. So this is where I come to relieve stress. So relieving stress is, for me, the exact same thing as, building myself. Revealing a character in myself that I hope is there. I would like to think of myself as courageous and brave. Well, I'll only find out if I put an asshole workout for myself on the board, and maybe I'll do it. So when I do my workout, I write it down first so that people see me write it down. So because I can't be doing my workout and start wiping away some reps, numbers, and shit. Because I like to think of myself as brave, as courageous, as tough, but I only really know if I actually force myself to do it. And a lot of times it ends up in regret because I'm fucking dying the next day or I'm tasting metal in my mouth after a few hundred burpees. But for me, it definitely works. I think more people will recognize, oh shit, maybe the reason I am coming to the gym is because I have an emotional thing I'm either trying to move towards or move away from. And that'll probably be easier if you let yourself push yourself a little bit more. That's a little bit too big of a rant because the question I wanted to ask you guys is, Tuesday was a great example of a tough day to work out. And for you guys, since, let's say if it was 2 weeks out from a competition and you had limited days because you have your personal life, you got a kid, so it's not like you can always pick and choose when to train. How do you guys deal with tough workouts, like physically tough, mentally tough, emotionally tough workouts? How do you still get yourself to push through and get it done if you had to work out on Tuesday, for example?
Okay, so
it was 2 weeks out of competition. It's fucking you're going to Europeans, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Western Europeans.
Western
yes.
Europeans. So let's say that it was a critical workout.
I would have gone early in the morning.
Oh, there you go. So it's just a matter of just being a little more intelligent than the rest. Okay, I get it.
Which was actually what I did with my PT sessions that I had planned that day. I asked my clients if they could come early in the morning, and they could. And they were actually very happy that I asked them to come early in the morning because they didn't really feel like going during the day as well. So, if I would have to, if I couldn't have missed a training, yes, then I would come early in the morning. And I do not like getting up early, but I like the heat even less. So,
I have to admit, I actually thought about coming in late in the evening, but then I looked at the temperatures and it didn't really make that much of a difference.
No, I think
because I had to work Monday evening till closing. Like coming in the morning wasn't an option.
No.
So okay, I'll just suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's weird because when you guys were working out, I was just working and Roy, Frank, and Hans were training. And my plan was to wait till around 6, 7 o'clock when it was definitely 38 to then go do my workout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, but then, the guys were training and having a good time. I was like, it's gezellig. And Sofian came too and I was like, okay, nah, my little bro's there, then I got to go work out too. Because then I can convince him to do some stupid shit with me. So, that was just my mindset. I'm gonna wait till it's the worst possible moment and then I'll go do my thing.
Like we were there at 1 and 2, which is basically like the hottest part of the day, right?
No, it heats up a little bit later. Like between 5 and 6, that's where the temperature forecast said that it was going to be more 38 degrees.
Oh,
yeah. But I was like, oh man, just so much fun right now, and everyone's going hard. Everyone's going. It was a very much like it sucks ass, absolutely, but just go, just push through it mindset, and then like Hans was having a hard time because he had heavy squat sets, and you saw him literally sitting down and had to give him a popsicle. And then Sophie was like, fuck that, I'm taking my shirt off.
And it was like his first training session after going on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah, so in that situation, I'd be like what you said before, being responsible coach. I'd be like, ooh, maybe that's why I got a popsicle, just kind of ease the situation. I don't know what it is. Like in that moment, sometimes you can just fuck each other up so much. You can just get each other so hyped that you end up, being irresponsible.
Yeah, I do understand what you say about pushing yourself, and then because then only then you know what you can do, and it makes you feel good afterwards as well.
Yeah, for real.
Especially that I do understand. Yeah. And I experienced that with heavy sessions as well. Doesn't even have to be hot in the gym, just a general heavy session.
If the training is hard enough.
I need to push myself. Yeah, definitely. And then I feel very good afterwards if I've done it. I mean, I don't like doing squats with sets of 10 reps, which I did today. It was horrible, but then I felt good when I did it. So, so I do understand that. And if you have enough time to recover afterwards, and if you take rest afterwards, if you have the option to do that, then it's possible to do. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so coming back to how we deal with hard workouts, I just remind myself of why I'm doing it. Because I'm very intrinsically motivated to train. And then if the going gets tough, I just remind myself of why I'm doing this. And that usually gets me through. And I don't like...
So why are you doing it? Because again, this is a zero reward passion that you have. You're not going to pay your bills because of how good of a powerlifter you are. You might get more happiness out of it, But is that it? Is that all you're looking for? Is that the reason you're doing it? Just to feel happier?
It's just all fulfillment.
Okay.
And I'm also extrinsically motivated because I wanna get on the podium at SB Cup.
Okay.
That's important. But even if that wasn't there, I'd still train hard because I just want to get better.
All right, let's peel back the layers.
Uh-huh.
Why do you want to get better?
Because
you say that all you need is to remind yourself why you're doing it, and then you're good to go. You can push through a hard workout. So there has to be a really strong core reason of what you're actually doing to put up with all that shit.
Because just putting in effort and getting better just feels good.
Okay.
It's just basic fulfillment. Yeah.
It's just the natural tendency to want to master something and be good at something. And like in Maslow's pyramid of needs is at the top, like, self-realization. And that's kind of the same thing for me. I just want to know what I can and can't do. I want to, like, when I put myself through shitty workouts, I just want to know that I can tolerate it. I can deal with it. So is that for you all you need is just remind yourself why you're doing it, and is the reason for doing it just self-fulfillment, and that's enough?
Yeah. It's self-fulfillment and just competitive goals.
Yeah, well, if that's enough. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned before too, is that once that's the case, then the rest doesn't really matter. And for other people, it could go really easily. They have the same goals, but the first sign of friction, most people won't do it, not because they don't want to, but because they believe they can't do it. And we had a conversation a long time ago about how most people have no idea what the RPE 10 is. They train and they write down really nicely RPE 7, RPE 8. And for people who are listening, RPE means rate of perceived exertion. It's just a scale of 1 to 10 to see how heavy you're approaching an exercise. And it's a training tool to try and figure out, am I training at the right intensity? But most people write down a number. But if you've never reached RPE 10, how do you know you're making a real assessment? Mm-hmm. So it's almost, without having an RPE 10 experienced, it's almost like a tool to go easy on yourself.
Yeah, I was thinking about this actually when we were talking about some people are too nice to themselves. I was thinking about RPEs and I thought about, am I going to bring it up? But I do understand, because there's two different kinds of people in this as well. There are people who are too nice to themselves, who might give something an RPE 8 when I would say it's actually a 6.
Yeah.
And there is those other people who completely push themselves and do something that looks like a RPE 9.5, and then they say
at 6,
7.
I see that
exactly.
The classic Instagram post.
Exactly. I laughed my ass off on Instagram. Someone's fucking dying, grinding it out, and no way he's gonna get hit on a rep. Oh, felt pretty good day. At a 6, RPE 6, like, no, bro. Like, that's not fucking... Unless you are the most diesel person in the fucking world, unless you thrive under fucking dying conditions.
Yes, some people are like that, where like it looks like a 10, and then it's actually like a 7, because they can just do 3 more reps.
That's true.
Some people actually can.
Yeah.
People can actually keep it going, but again, if you don't know the RPE 10, if you've never felt it or come close, then you might be writing 8 down and leaving reps on the table because you just don't know what you can. And most people don't know what they can.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Okay, we're talking about sports here, but like in life in general, not to go a little too broad and off topic, but in life, most people don't know what they're capable of. People see something and say, oh, I can't do that. Well, the fuck not. If one person did it, sure, some things require natural physical attributes. Like if you want to fucking dunk a basketball, it's going to be easy if you're not a midget, right? And if you want to be, an opera singer, it'll be handy if you have some singing skills. Yes, but most things everyone can learn. But people will easily see like someone successful and be like, "Oh no, but hey, that person was lucky," or "Oh yeah, but I can't do that." Like most things can be learned. Most skills can be acquired, and it might take you twice as long, but you can still fucking do it.
Yeah. People are often scared to fail as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what causes a lot of people to either procrastinate or to not start at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And which is sad, because once you switch to like afraid of failure to I can't wait to fail, how much your world opens up and how much more you achieve and succeed in life. Like look at even like the more like what do you call it? The bottom of like a Media Markt, you have those big like
the budget buck.
Budget buck, exactly. Even like the budget buck, like success gurus, even they say the same thing. But failure is your most important tool for success. Because if you're afraid of failure, that means you're afraid of doing anything and you'll never get started. Mm-hmm. But when you welcome failure, when you see failure as a handy tool, as a learning, as a person who's teaching you a lesson every single time, then you welcome failure. It changes your whole fucking perspective in life. Yeah. And same for powerlifting also. People are so afraid to miss a rep or to fail on a squat. Like, I sometimes force my athletes to, not on heavy weights, but when reps, get to the point of failure so you know that you can fail and it doesn't make a difference. You're not going to die.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't want you, of course, I don't want you to hurt yourself, and I'll make sure you won't hurt yourself. But how many people have been lifting for years have never failed a squat, have never had to dump a bar, never had to be caught by spotters? Yeah. There's gonna stay a barrier in your head until the moment comes.
Yeah, they get scared too and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Or people who fail once and then they're done for the day. Oh yeah, but I wasted so much energy. Oh, but I already saw that I can't do it. And that's why I love Milou. Like, when Milou and we can train, now, like, we did our PRs at the beginning of the week. We failed the first PR because it was just didn't move right. Tried it again. She got it. Second time again. Went to 120. Failed the first time. It was just not a good rep. Tried again. And then she got it. But imagine if you just failed the first time and just said, well, I evidence that I can't do it.
Yeah, and you quit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
I have to admit, I kind of do that.
What?
Like, I rarely miss a lift. And if I miss a lift, I won't try again on the same day.
But see, that makes sense too. And it's person specific and it depends on the situation. But I think my whole point is just that people are capable of more than they think they are. They don't give themselves enough credit. And they don't even set themselves up to find out what they're really capable of.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, especially with strength training, because oftentimes people say, I can't do that. But usually you only find out if you can once you start trying. Yeah. Especially if when we're talking about athletics, because usually you only find out if you're genetically gifted if you're trying something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and which is what we say a lot to people here too when they sign up. When people come into the gym and say, I know I need to work out. I want to be stronger. I want to be fitter. I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight, whatever. And they know that is why they're in the gym. And we tell them, try out different things. You might be fucking good at strongman exercises. You might be naturally inclined to be really good at stones or log or whatever. Or people, like, dudes come in and they say, yeah, well, I can't do that. Join the weightlifting class. Oh yeah, nee, ben niet mobiel. They'll become more mobile. Like, if it's fun, you might, you never know. But people put themselves in a box and it's always, oh, I can't, or if only, instead of I can't yet, or when I do this, you know?
Or I can't right now, but I can get better. Maybe I can do it in I don't know, a month.
Yeah, you got
months, whatever.
People have to learn to use the word yet. Like, I can't yet, or I won't yet, or I don't yet. You got to leave that door for possibility open so that you at least don't close yourself off. Because I firmly believe that it reflects in everything you do. If you believe that everything is fixed, that you can't change, you can improve, then you never will. No one's going to come and grant you all of a sudden new skills and new knowledge if you're constantly assuming, well, this is as smart as I'll ever be. I'll never become any smarter. I'll never become any fitter, any stronger. What the fuck are you in the gym for?
You see this character trait in most of the really high performing athletes. Like, look at Russell or Taylor Atwood. Like, their self belief is so intensely strong.
Yeah,
they believe that they can do anything.
Yeah, but that's just the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. But anyone who has achieved anything worthwhile has had the point where, well, I can't do this yet, but if I do A, B, and C, I'll get close to it. And then A and B and C becomes really easy to do. You've done that, right? Well, I'm not there yet, but D, E, and F is going to be really easy to do. And you got to just believe that you can keep doing more. And to tie it all back to the first topic is that when it's a tough workout, when the conditions aren't bad, you have to just ask yourself, what does a voice in your head say? To be like, oh, this means I can't do it. Oh, this is happening, so the decision has been made for me, like I can't go. Or is it, I can try, or I can't do it yet, or I can't do it completely. And that might reveal a lot to you that you might not be aware of. And luckily, we're only talking about fitness. We're only talking about a hobby you're choosing to do. We're not talking about your life and your career and your successes and like really, really important things to feel fulfilled. But it could reflect on the rest of things you do in life. And I think that you guys, for example, as powerlifters, you guys might not even be aware of the fact that you're more growth mindset oriented than you are. You kind of have to be to do what you're doing, to put yourself through all this shit. You have to believe that, well, if I put in enough work, if I do the right things, then I'll eventually get to the podium, or I'll eventually win this, or I'll beat that person, or I'll get this score. Like, you have to believe that's the case, or else there's no point in practicing what you're practicing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And that's what I like about training is that training can help you sort of get into that mindset, which can then help you in other things.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I've personally seen a lot of examples of people who they've learned that they can improve over time just by putting in the work for powerlifting. All of a sudden, things at home get better, things at work get better, their social situations get better because, like, oh shit, well, I can just approach this as powerlifting, just, one set at a time, one rep at a time, and eventually I'll get better at it.
Yeah, you get mentally stronger. Yeah.
I've also experienced this with myself as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah, definitely.
What a beautiful sport.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So, to wrap it up, do as we say, not as we do. Definitely. Look, and
Don't be stupid.
Yeah, when I talk about how I approach things, I'm 100% aware that it's a very abstract way to do things. I don't recommend anyone to do it. I happen to have people around me who think the same way. For example, like Sieger. Like, he just understands what I say when I say it. He's even more extreme. So he's something that's a good example of, like, okay, maybe not that much, but do as we say, not as we do. And try to figure out for yourself what are the tools you have to improve your conditions, to move yourself forward. You don't have to kill yourself. You have to do crazy-ass workouts. But if it's important to you, if this sport, improvement, competition, placement, everything, if it's important to you, it's worth finding the ways you can move the needle forward. Don't just accept things as they are. Don't let the world make decisions for you. Choose for yourself. Choose to push a little bit more. Or not. Hey, I'm not your mama. Do what you want. Shit. Any last remarks?
Well,
Really? No.
that being said, I think that in some cases, it's okay to be nice to yourself and to take a day. If you need to, you can do that.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the clarity, what I was talking about lives completely separate from the necessity of what you just said. Like, because what you are talking about is, a lot of people see that as like a cop-out or a way out. I see it as strategic moves. It's like a good, when you're playing chess, you got to move everything appropriately. You need to be nice to yourself sometimes. You need to rest. You need to recover. Sometimes you need to back out. Sometimes you need to be trained smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Take a mental health day if you need to.
Yeah. But for some people, even taking that mental health day, that is the tough move. That is the hard step.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not just about coming in for a crazy workout on the hottest day. Sometimes the tougher thing to do is to not do anything at all. Like, I'm definitely on that side. Like, not doing anything at all is a lot harder for me than just being, well, fuck it, I might as well go on an assault bike and try to die, So we're talking about the same thing, I think, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Guys, thanks for listening. That was, I think, more random than you guys are used to from these podcasts, but sometimes it's just good to chat and have a talk and share some thoughts. So if you enjoy this podcast, please give us a like on whatever platform you're listening on. We also have a video version if you're listening to this on our YouTube, if you want to see our pretty faces. And give us a comment, a like, some subscribe, all those good algorithmic things. But most importantly, let us know what you want to talk about. What do you want to learn from us? What do you want to hear from us? You have a lot of experience and knowledge and skills at this table, and we're more than happy to share it with you. So let us know, and we will oblige.
See ya.
Doei.
Bye.
Dope. Dat was cool.
Wow. Zweet.
Het is heel warm hier binnen.
Ja. Plakwoordjes.
Plakkenwoordjes, ja.